How about that for technical difficulties? As I was saying, they prayed for them as if they were the issue, as if they were the demon, as opposed to, or that they had a demon, as opposed to addressing the actual issue that they had asked them to pray for. So because they did not know how to handle them in that situation, they felt as though they were ostracized and that they were demonized for having an illness that they needed prayer for. And again, these are two instances, two separate people, two different age groups. I mean, literally. One is a grandmother and the other is a young person. But two different instances, two different people, two different situations, two different scenarios, but similar situations. And they wound up both not turning their back on God, not being angry with God, because they were going to God for healing, help, and restoration. They just needed someone to be in agreement with them in prayer as anyone would, whether it be a physical malady or any other issue. However, the way that they were prayed for caused them to be so, it exacerbated or made the situation they were dealing with worse. When you're dealing with a mental illness, you're already dealing with that challenge. And a lot of times people don't speak up, stand up, come forward because they don't want people to look at them in a certain way. And then when you go up for prayer or release to a leader that this is what you're in need of prayer for, and you're not handled in a way in which the Bible would have handled it, it's a heavy weight. Switching gears, and so they left the church, not just that church, they left church. They would fall under the category of duns. They left going to church because the hurt and the pain of that and the humiliation of not receiving what they were going for was that of a loving God, exhibited through ministers who were assigned to express to them or give to them the hope and the encouragement and the prayer of faith. Instead, they were treated as if they were demonically possessed, and not realizing that you can call out a sickness just as you can cancer, heart disease, liver disease, AIDS, influenza. You can call those out without demonizing the person. So then you've got, on the other hand, I have been doing this research for almost 2 years now. So we're going to take this same duns and nuns to the pulpit. And the statistics keep changing, so I'm not going to give you numbers. One, because in the statistics that I've found, I can't determine who's being surveyed, or when what I mean by that, what region these pastors and ministers are being surveyed, if they're all African American. Not that that matters, but if I'm going to give statistics, I would like to kind of know how broad or how narrow the statistics are. But I can tell you the information that I hear that I read is across the board, because every time I pull up information and actually have had conversations with pastors, this information definitely is spot on. I hesitate to give you the numbers, because the numbers, because they're statistics, they're going to change. But here's the thing: we're talking about nuns and duns. Nuns and duns don't just stop in the pews; they go all the way up to the pulpit. There have been quite a number of pastors over the past 3 years and ministers who have stepped away from the pulpit, who have stepped away from their calling, who have stepped away from ministry. And here's some of the reasons. And I have found this, I just stopped looking because I keep coming across the exact same information, not only in my research, but from actual pastors. So there's got to be some legitimacy to this. Here's some of the top reasons why pastors and leaders are not just stepping down from the pulpit, they're stepping away. It says here, many pastors struggle with depression and discouragement. Many pastors struggle. Well, suffer is definitely appropriate, but it says here, many pastors struggle with depression and discouragement. How heavy a weight is that to carry when you are the shepherd, the watchman on the wall, the one that is carrying, the one that is responsible for souls, the one who carries the weight, and no one knows that this person is hurting. This person needs an outlet. This person, it talks about how the pastors don't even take a break. They don't take vacations as they should, and they don't look after their health as they should. It goes on to talk about many pastors find it to be lonely in the profession or the calling that they're in, and this loneliness really kind of feeds into that depression we talked about a moment ago. And so you've got these people, these watchmen on the wall, these encouragers, these lifters, these people who are held an account for us. But no one asks if there was pre-existing issues, mental health issues in their family, because keep in mind, just because you're a pastor, teacher, prophet, elder, evangelist, prophet, does not exempt you from having human frailties. It does not exempt you from having being predisposed to different things. Yes, we can destroy generational curses, but if you don't know it's there, how can you call it out until that thing begins to exhibit itself? Some things are environmental. When you talk about a pastor, this is the same person who has to eulogize your family members whom they love as well, who their family calls upon whenever there's any issue. Imagine how you feel when you are the nurturer and the encourager of your family. You don't have a title per se, but you're the one that everybody always calls on. You're the one that everybody always looks to. You're the responsible one. What if that is your life every day? Not just once in a while, not just when they need you, but every single day. And who equips you? Aside from God. Now let's be honest here. Let's be real. We know that there's a spiritual connotation. We know that God equips those who He calls, and we understand that. But from a very real standpoint, just as a pastor, minister, elder, preacher, teacher, evangelist, prophet, apostle needs to take care of their physical body, so it is with their mental. It all is together. It all is together. And so you've got pastors and leaders who are stepping away from not only the pulpit, but are stepping away, and they're becoming nuns and duns. I won't say his name, but there is a very famous, very well-known, I should say, very well-known former pastor. He's doing great things. He's doing, doing great things. But he is no longer pastoring. If you didn't know that he was a pastor previously, it would seem foreign. Good person, but not in a. He stepped out of a, and not only stepped out of the pulpit, stepped out of a thriving church. His church was not struggling. And what I mean by that, I don't know the financial situation. I assume they weren't, but as far as membership, they were not struggling. They were a very active church. There was always something going on, always doing something for the community, always had their hand on the pulse of the community, and he stepped down, stepped away, and left. Another well-known pastor here in Atlanta stepped down, stepped away, stepped down. Now for these two pastors, I don't know their situation. I don't know why they stepped down, stepped away, and stepped out. I don't know. It was I don't know. I haven't read their bios, or if it's even if it's in the bio, to see why they left. But please know that is not the norm. If you're called to ministry, if you're called, let me take that back. If you're called to pastor and you're pastoring a thriving, rich, growing church, as the two examples I just gave, because both those churches that I just were talking about, those pastors that pastored those churches, they were, I mean, well known. But what happened? I don't know. Don't know. But I do know from the pastors I have talked to who have definitely, there are some that are in the pulpit now who have definitely considered stepping away because of depression, because of anxiety, because of the weight, because of the challenges that they're faced. And not one yet that I've talked to, not one has cited the reason that they wanted to step away was because of the financial burden of the church. Not one. I'm sure that maybe that plays a part, maybe, but not one that I've talked to. They talked about the weight of it, the depression, going and preaching on Sunday morning, preaching and the presence of God coming in and moving, and Sunday evening it balled up in a ball in their bedroom, not wanting to come out. Pastors who are in the forefront and preaching the word of God, and then when they get home self-medicating because they needed something to help them just to be normal, and they're self-medicating because they don't want to go to a psychologist or a therapist because they're the pastor. It's the truth. This is the truth. And what I'm talking about is not something I read, not something I researched, not something I pulled up. This is actual conversations. So then you've got the nuns and the duns that are in the pews who have left because I'm trying to tell you that there's something going on in my emotions, in my mental situation, and you're not hearing me. You're giving me scripture, which is great. Please don't negate the importance and the prevalence and the power and the might of prayer, of scripture and prayer. But once you give these, don't set aside the person and negate them and make them feel as though they are less than because they're dealing with something that is dealing with their mind. The Bible even talks about people who dealt with depression. If you've been on here any amount of time with me, you know I've talked about the story of Elijah and Elisha. We always want to talk about how Elijah was caught up in the mantle fell upon Elisha, and how Elisha was there to receive it. But going before Elijah met Elisha and Elisha met Elijah, Elijah was going through it. He was going through it. And he told God, this is enough. This is enough. And so in that instance, God did not say, let this mind be in you that was also in Christ Jesus. No, he didn't say, you're my man of God. You should not be going through this. This is not of me. God did not do that. God did not make the man of God, Elijah, feel less than because he said, God, this is enough. The weight of what he was going through had wore him down so much. He was in a state of depression that he exhibited the same signs of depression that people experience today. He exhibited then. He went into a cave. He wanted to be by himself, and he went to sleep. A lot of times, people who are in a state of depression, they don't want to get out of the bed. This man went to a cave, and it had to take an angel of God to come and wake him up and say, get up from here. Get up from here. And God didn't berate him or make him feel humiliated or make him feel as though because you're a leader, you shouldn't be feeling this. No. Instead, after the angel came and was able to get him up, God sent Elijah help in the form of Elisha. help. And there are people in the pulpit, and there are people in the pews, there are people in the parking lot, there are people on your job, there are people in your home, there are people in the grocery store who all they're saying is help. Help. So I encourage you, if you are currently a nun a person who does not associate or affiliate with any kind of religion or church, or if you're done, you said, you know what, I've done this church thing, and you know what, I can't do it anymore. I can't do it anymore. No one understands me. I'm trying to, there's nobody really talking about mental health. You hoop and you preach and you holler at me, and then when I go up for prayer, nobody really knows how to address. If you're one of those, I encourage you. There are people out here. There are people in this thread. There are people in this group. There are churches and ministries and pastors in this group who love you, who want you to come back, who want you, not necessarily, it's not about coming to church. It's about your relationship with God, period. It's not about whether or not you join or you're a member, because being a member does not, you can be a member of a gym and never get anything out of it. Being a member doesn't change anything, but your relationship does. So I encourage you to keep coming on here, to keep being encouraged. Get the help that you need. If you need some referrals, if you need a referral to a great therapist, we have some great God-filled therapists that are connected to us. I'd be happy to share with you in this particular thread, in this group. If you just need, sometimes it's not a therapist, sometimes you need a coach. I myself am a certified coach. If you need me, I'm here for you. If you need other coaches, they're here on here. If you just need someone to hold you accountable, maybe it's not necessarily that there's a clinical issue going on, but you need someone to agree with you in prayer. We are here. There are prayer groups attached in this very group. Because if you're a nun or a dun, we just want to make sure that you're whole. That's it. Whether you carry a title of pastor, prophet, minister, elder, pew warmer, sister, brother, friend, or cousin, we want you to get your help. So listen, that's my time. Listen, I'm Chelselia Cookie Payne, founder of Pain and Glory Incorporated and the administrator of this particular group, Pain and Abuse Mental Health and Ministry. Don't forget, please don't forget, coming up March the 10th, you don't want to miss it. If you're here in the metropolitan Atlanta area or the surrounding area, March the 10th, we're having our very first Chat and Chew of 2018. We ended 2017 with a bang, and we're starting out 2018 on March the 10th with just as big of a magnitude of a bang as we left out 2017 with. March the 10th, I'll put the link to the invitation in this thread here, so you'll have access to it. It's absolutely free to attend. We just ask that you support the host venue for allowing us to come in and just take over their coffee house there at the Cynical, located in downtown Austell. It's on Veterans Memorial. Listen, I want to see you there. You don't want to miss this. You don't want to miss this. One of the things that we kind of tend to gloss over or look past is because we're having a two-part topic. One of the things we kind of gloss over and don't want to talk about is our elders, our seniors. We think that some of the things that they say and do is just a part of getting older, but not so. There's some things that they're experiencing or that they're doing that is not normal, but we take it as that because we don't know what to look for. There's a such thing as late life depression, and your loved one could be suffering and you not know it. And the second part is we're going to talk about women's health and wellness as pertains to emotional health and emotional and mental health. So you don't want to miss it. 11 o'clock, March the 10th at the Cynical. The link will be here so that you can RSVP. I love you guys with the love of Christ. I will see you next Tuesday. We'll talk about it Tuesday. Take care and God bless.